Is Greenville, South Carolina still affordable in 2025, or are we quietly becoming the next Asheville or Charlotte or Charleston when it comes to the cost of living? If you're thinking about relocating to the Upstate, or you already live here and want to know how your monthly budget compares to the national average, this video is for you. We are breaking down what it actually costs to live here in 2025, from housing to groceries to taxes to utilities, and more importantly, a few hidden costs that most people don't think about, but they should. Plus, I'll share some real insights from myself and what I've picked up from working with families relocating here from all over the country, things that they didn't expect to spend money on when they moved here, and the parts of Greenville that can quietly stretch your budget if you're not prepared. So whether you're budget conscious, moving from a high cost state, or just trying to make smart decisions before relocating, you're going to want to see this video all the way through. Let's get into it. As always, my friends, my name is Sawyer, your friend in real estate here in the upstate of South Carolina, and it's our goal with this channel that we are your #1 resource for all the things that you need to know about your relocation to the upstate. We aim to provide you with the most relevant, the most reliable, the most practical, and the most data-driven information that you can or can't find on the internet. If you do decide to relocate to the Greenville area, I helped over 100 families in 2024, and we are well on our way to help more than that in 2025. I would love to add you to our client family, so please do me a favor, email me on my email below, or shoot me a text at my cell phone number below. I would love to work with you and yours. Let's do it. So first up, I'm going to talk about housing costs, then we will get into taxes, then I'll get into utilities and transportation costs, and finally we will discuss food and miscellaneous lifestyle expenses. First up, let's talk about housing. As of the time of this recording, shortly after the mid-year mark, home prices in Greenville are up about 5% at an average of $392,000. The median sales price is up just under 2% at $315,000. And compare that to, say, Charleston, South Carolina, where the average home price is $580,000, while Greenville is $392,000. Or Summerville, South Carolina, which is a suburb just north of Charleston, where the median home price is $360,000 compared to Greenville that is $315,000. That makes a really good case for Greenville. Now, we've talked at length about the current real estate market in Greenville just a few videos ago, so I'm not going to do a deep dive on that right now, but be sure to check that video out after you finish up with this one. So you're probably asking yourself, okay, well, I know what the cost of a house is that I can afford. That info doesn't really help me. So let's talk about some costs that you don't think about when buying a house. And first up are inspections. Inspections will run you anywhere from $350 to $500 for a home and termite inspection. And if you choose to get other inspections, that can pretty quickly rack up to a bill north of $800. And then 2, closing costs. If you're financing your home with a bank, your closing costs will run you anywhere from 2 to 3% of your loan amount. So for example, if you're buying a $500,000 house and putting $100,000 down, resulting in a $400,000 loan amount, this will likely bring your closing costs to the $8,000 to $11,000 price range. In addition to your down payment, inspection costs, and moving costs. So let's talk about moving costs. I was talking to some of my out-of-state clients who closed on their home last week in Holly Tree Plantation. They were making a cross-country move and using a very well-known company to move them who was storing their items in addition to moving them the week after closing. Their move was going to cost roughly $12,000 plus storage expenses. I always tell my clients, please don't hire the cheapest mover, because I've also had clients who have chosen to hire the cheapest mover and move them across the country, and it really turned into a nightmare with damaged items and flaky employees. If you want a mover recommendation, I am happy to give you one. I know the owners of 2 of the highest regarded moving companies here locally, and if I were moving, they would be who I would use. The last thing I'll mention in the housing section is utility costs. Utility costs in Greenville are fairly average, I'd say. Expect to pay around $200 to $450 a month for power, internet, and water and sewer, depending on your home size and depending on the season. And if you're buying new construction, you'll benefit from newer HVAC systems, better insulation, low E windows that tend to lower your bills compared to older homes. And I know this isn't a fun conversation, but it's a real conversation and one that is important to have now versus later. And thanks for hanging in there with me, and keep watching, because in just a few minutes, I'll share one cost that's gone up over 30% for me since I bought my rental house just a few years ago. And it's one that most buyers forget to plan for. Now let's talk about state income taxes and property taxes, because South Carolina is actually a pretty tax-friendly state, especially if you're relocating from somewhere like California or New York. South Carolina has a progressive or graduating income tax with rates topping out at roughly 6.4%, but most working adults here fall somewhere between 3 and 6%, depending on income and depending on deductions that they receive. There's no local income tax in Greenville or anywhere else in the state, so once you file with the state, you're done. Now, if you're retiring here, this is where South Carolina really shines. Social Security income is completely tax-free, and if you're over the age of 65, you can deduct up to $15,000 in qualified retirement income from things like a 401k, a pension, or an IRA. That's per person, so for a married couple, it can be up to $30,000 off of your taxable income. There are also additional deductions just for being 65 or older, which can bring your tax liability down even further. For instance, the homestead exemption, which folks who have lived here for at least 1 year and are over the age of 65 can take advantage of, which will significantly reduce your property taxes each and every year. So whether you're working remotely or planning for retirement, South Carolina's income tax structure can make a big difference in your monthly budget, especially when compared to high tax states. Just one more reason why a lot of people are planning roots in South Carolina. All right, so now let's talk about property taxes. I already mentioned the homestead exemption, but for a simple rule of thumb, and I will simply leave it at this: multiply your purchase price times 0.006, and that is generally what you are going to spend on annual property taxes if you are buying your primary residence here in Greenville. Now, if you're buying a second home or an investment property, multiply that number that you just got by 2.5, and that's probably what you're going to pay. Property taxes are very affordable if you're buying your primary residence, and I have clients who go from paying $15,000 to $25,000 per year in property taxes, which is practically unheard of unless you own a second home on Lake Kiowee here in our area. Most clients for property taxes every year are going to pay anywhere from $2,000 to $4,500 annually. Now, here's a hidden cost as a bonus for you that a lot of my counterparts don't talk about. If you're retiring early and moving to Greenville before Medicare kicks in at 65, you're going to probably need private health insurance. South Carolina is a low tax state, but health insurance premiums can vary a lot based on your income and where you live. I've had clients move here from higher cost states and still end up paying marginally more for insurance, not because Greenville is more expensive, but because their income on paper disqualified them from subsidies. If that's you, make sure you're looking at the ACA plans in advance and factoring those monthly premiums into your retirement budget. I'll say from personal experience, and I'm a young, healthy person who is married and has no pre-existing conditions, we have a qualifying HSA plan, which is more expensive than regular health insurance, mind you. But my wife and I pay just under $800 a month for health insurance, and that is with a $12,000 deductible per person. So if we didn't have an HSA qualifying plan, we'll likely pay closer to $600 per month. But do your due diligence on this topic if you fall into this bucket. All right, and now let's talk about insurance costs here in South Carolina. Now, I've worked with many people who have fled Florida due to rising prices, rising insurance costs, and rising taxes, and the rising threat of natural disasters. And I think Florida is starting to see all that come to a head, while there are a record number of listings sitting on the market in Florida right now. While South Carolina has seen nothing that Florida has seen, I think most parts of the country are seeing insurance costs rise. So let's use me as an example. I drive a 2021 F-150 Ford pickup, and I pay just over $700 every 6 months for insurance. Now, keep in mind, I probably am over-insured because I sometimes carry clients in my car, and I really need to be insured. but that's why I pay so much. And for a home that I bought in 2022 that is worth currently, I'd say about $225,000, my insurance premium when I closed on the house was $1,068. Now it is $1,478, which is a roughly 30% increase from when I originally bought the house. I just had a client under contract for a $625,000 brick home with an older roof and an older HVAC, and their premium was going to be just around $2,000 a year. As natural disasters have ticked up and as insurance companies, according to an article that I read many months ago, have undercharged on their premiums for the last 10 years, it's likely the perfect storm, no pun intended, for insurance costs to rise like they have over the last several years. And one last thing to note in this section, one cost people don't always think about is being a 2 or 3 car household. Greenville is still a car first city and public transit is limited outside of downtown. That means insurance, gas, and maintenance for multiple vehicles. And South Carolina does charge a yearly vehicle property tax when you register your vehicle here in South Carolina. Personal property taxes on vehicles will range from $150 to $800 depending on the value of the vehicle. Just something that you should factor into your monthly transportation budget. So I hope all of that information was helpful in determining if Greenville, South Carolina is an affordable place for you to live, and I hope that it is. And if you do decide to relocate to the Greenville area, I would love to be the realtor that you choose to work with. So please do me a favor, email me at my email below or shoot me a text at my cell phone number below. I would love to start that conversation about getting you and yours to Greenville. As always, my name is Will Sawyer, your friend in real estate, and until next time, stay safe.
Well, this video is going to be about Greenville County, the upstate of South Carolina. Great thing to do and easily in the evening.
I'm a local real estate expert here in the area.
All the time, we're right behind me is a really cool place called Freight Yard.